Well, thank you for joining us, everyone, and all our future guests. My name is, and attendees, my name is Jennifer. I am the Events and Communication Manager for Gather and Heal, and I welcome you to our panel discussion called It's Not Your Plate, Family, Food, and Feelings. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Before we begin, I would like to welcome everyone to just take a moment of breath and of peace and of being here in community. Don't everybody has had some 24 hours of a day. So we're just happy to have this moment to have conversation, sharing community, and really just uplift, uplift ourselves. Uh, so take a few breaths. We welcome peace and clarity into your hearts, into your mind. And we are grateful for whenever you do watch this and wherever you're at, that you are here. So thank you so much. Now, with that being said, just a brief introduction of who Gather and Heal is and what we are here to do. Gather Heal is a membership community for Black and Latinx women where they can show up genuinely as their whole self and explore their mental health. We believe we heal in community, we heal together, and that is what we are here to do. So with that being said, welcome. Quick ground rules for everyone. Uh, this is a place for authentic conversation. So we are here to open, to share, and to have real dialogue with other women from different perspectives and lives. We ask everyone to please turn off your mics so that our panelists can be heard. And if you have any questions or comments, please go into the chat box. Send us your information there. We will be reading them after they share their experiences and really help and guide us as we find some clarity today. So with that being said, I would like to start off with Esosa, right? Okay. Osajide. Oh, I know I messed it up. Oh, happy day. You told me a trick. I couldn't remember. I do apologize. But thank you. So Esosa is a virtual registered dietitian nutritionist for Black women who want to break free from restrictive dieting and create a better relationship with food while reaching their weight loss goals. Her philosophy is food should be enjoyed, not feared. Amen to that. And she helps her clients go through the Nourish Mindset Academy, where they establish a better mindset to support them with their relationship with food, make empowering decisions, and create generational health for themselves and their families. Esosa is passionate about empowering Black women as they prioritize their nutrition and health, and that is her purpose today and in her life. She is also has an ebook available, okay, titled "You Didn't Fail at Your Diet Failed You," available. Go check her out on TikTok and on Instagram at melanin_poppin RDN. Esosa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Love it.
I tried, girl. All right. Our next guest is Deanna. She is right now in Louisiana. Hey, girl. Hey. And she works as a professional counselor in Louisiana, Georgia, and now in the state of Maryland. So congratulations to you for all your work. Her passion includes working with all types of communities in areas of depression, anxiety, trauma, childhood and parent guardian conflict, substance abuse, self-identity, and life-changing situations, and more. She has a master's in counseling education from Southern East Louisiana University and is an active member of the Louisiana Association for Multicultural Counseling and Development, the Louisiana Association for Social Justice, and Dream Mentorship Program. Deanna brings her educational background as well as her professional experience to support African American women with uncovering their true potential to lead a life that is worth celebrating while creating inner peace. You can reach her on the Instagram at Chains Devoted To. That is Deanna. Deanna, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. You did good. Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Valerie Mendez. Valerie Mendez is a personal fitness trainer, a wife and mom of three fantastic humans, aged 5, 3, and 1, bless your soul, while working full time managing a mental health clinic. Graduating in 2015 from the National Personal Trainer Institute, as well as getting her MBA in 2016, Valerie uses her personal health journey to support women and mothers create healthy body goals and obtain healthier relationships with food and themselves. You can find Valerie at VFit4You on Instagram. Valerie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we wanted to get this panel together because the holidays are coming up. And as you know, holidays means money, excuse me, means money, means traveling, means spending time with people that we might have, especially through the pandemic, not had to be around for a while. And there have been maybe some opportunities of growth and change, particularly with how we live and what our values are. So we wanted to bring this event together with these amazing women who, through their life experiences and their work, can really support our community in understanding different ways to deal with your food, your family, and your feelings. So I'm going to kick this off first, going backwards with Valerie. When did you become aware of the connection of food to your personal life experience? And how has that impacted the work that you do?
It'd be nice if I unmuted myself first, right? I want to say it was when, so you won't believe this, but I did a lemonade diet with my cousin years ago. And it consisted of drinking lemonade for like 3 days and no food. And we starved ourselves basically. And she was like, well, if you get hungry, just eat a carrot or celery. And I was like, after day 2, I was like, this isn't right. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And unfortunately, at home, I never had someone to teach me, how to properly nourish my body or how to properly eat. Didn't learn from my parents or my grandparents, and I still struggle with that. So after that, I made some changes because that lack of nutrition was also leading to a lot of anxiety and depression. So I knew I had to make changes. And that's one of the reasons why I enrolled in NPTI, to learn, because we weren't getting the right information online or from other people. And I was no longer willing to starve myself for 3 days. So just, really doing that self-evaluation and saying, I'm not happy doing this, and I don't think this is the way I should be eating, really made me change, or start looking for ways to change on my relationship with food.
Thank you so much for sharing. I know that in your blog, you wrote about how you struggled with your health also in your younger years. Looking back now, do you think that was probably like another reason? And do you mind sharing with the audience what that was for you?
In my younger years as a child, oh my goodness. When I speak to my parents now about nutrition, they're like, the answers they give me are like, what are you talking about? You told me you wanted pizza, so we bought it for you. Or you wanted Chinese and we bought it for you. And when you're younger, you just don't know. And your parents are your role models. And to me, it was, this is normal. This is how I'm supposed to eat. This is how a normal family functions. This is the type of food we're supposed, like, you don't really know. And it's not something you talk about with your friends. Like, I don't ask my friends what they had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you don't know. And, I got school lunches and school breakfasts, and they weren't great either. So when I look back now, I wish a lot of things would have been done different. Um, I struggled with my weight in middle school, in high school, um, uh, with bullying in middle school. Um, but I didn't have anyone to ask for help. So, it's something that I work on because it's something that I don't want my children to go through now.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I've seen you in action with your kids. You're a great mom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Deanna, I'm going to come to you and kind of talk about that mental health side, kind of that Valerie described in her own journey, and that we often see culturally as well. You know, a lot of communities that are from the African diaspora that have been impacted by all the institutions, right? Food has definitely been, yes, a source of culture and excitement and cherish, but there's also that part of, we're scraping the bottom of the pot and we're getting these leftovers, and how that impacted us from having to eat what we had and we're used to now eating what we're being forced to. And the work that you do, how often does like the food and the family and the culture really tie to that emotional piece of healing for women?
Well, as for with food, I mean, I'm from New Orleans, so that's a whole another ball game right there as far as like how food is associated with everything, And but just to piggyback off of Valerie, just growing up is two different things. First, there is like you were taught you eat whatever is there. And just from a cultural standpoint, a lot of times it's like, hey, we get together, we gather, we don't have much, but we'll spend money on food. And so just the way it was prepared, even as far as I would even go as culturally, like what is in local areas. Um, if you don't have any transportation, you go to what the nearest store is. And so the nearest store may have a lot of things that has a lot of ingredients that are not healthy. And so, which leads to, and then there's depression. So in my field, I deal with a lot of individuals based on all of those culture factors, all of those environmental stressors. Food was tied to that. So I do a lot with overeating, um, and which creates depression, and then it creates guilt um, of not being their self-esteem is not the best because of these different factors that go on. So um, in healing is understanding like how all of that helps or hinders our mental wellness. So if you look at it from a holistic point of view, it affects you physically. There's a lot of and I'm pretty sure Esosa can, and even Valerie, you guys can attest to that with health reasons. With we have a lot of diabetes, hypertension, so it goes from that end, and also mentally, where it deals with depression and also with anxiety. So a lot of those factors is understanding like how all of that is connected, and that helps with the healing process.
Thank you so much for sharing, Deanna, and how your work. I know for me, emotional eating is it's like an everyday struggle.
And you don't emotionally eat carrots.
No, no fun in that. All the sugar. With that, Esosa, I'm gonna hop on to you, and would like to hear, you're here supporting the African American community, the Black community. How did this purpose of nutrition and diet and health and culture come your way? And, if you don't mind sharing your personal experience with the three F's of food, family, and feelings.
Yeah. So, I guess I have a different way. So, I know your original question was, when did I become aware of food, body, and my emotions? And it was at a very young age during holiday season. It was it was a warm, fuzzy feeling. Everybody's excited. Everybody's you know, communion around the food. Everybody, I mean, the smells, the hugs, the gifts. Like, it was, my emotions are tied in with the family, are tied in with the food, because nobody's that excited about food except during the holidays like that. So it really was a bring the family together type of mood. Um, for my very first experience being a young woman. And then I started to become just more aware of, people will be excited to see you, but have really slight comments, maybe about your body or maybe looking at your plate. And it's very interesting. Me becoming a dietitian, a lot of people, like my family, are like, "So don't judge my plate." And I'm like, I literally am paying attention to my own plate. I never even, I'm like asking, trying to figure out, actually, where did you get that roll from? Because I didn't see them. Not, why are you eating the roll? So, and I guess, and I'm Nigerian and African American. My dad's Nigerian, my mom's from Chicago. Boom has me, so we're different. So it's interesting because they both, with the Nigerian family, they have the same type of attitude in a way towards bigger bodies or looking at plates, just like my African American side of my family doing the same thing. And it's a whole different story, but you think they don't see eye to eye sometimes, but they're just the same. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into just wanting to work specifically with Black women, just because I noticed the big disconnect between how food is supposed to, it's for nourishment, but it can also be, you can also feel it in a nostalgic way as well. But what a lot of people are doing are using it to self-soothe in a way, trying to, um, if something's going on emotionally, they're using food instead of actually maybe getting help from a therapist or counselor. Um, when you are eating foods that are comfort foods, it does release dopamine, a neurotransmitter that goes to the brain to give you a mood boost. That's normal during the holidays. That's normal during Sunday dinner after Easter or whatever. But if you're always going for the sweeter foods, your comfort foods, I mean, like you said, carrots are not comfort foods. You're gonna go for what makes you feel comfortable, even if that is, I don't know, whipped cream with, I don't know. It's a lot of things out there, but um, I'm gonna go to what's comfortable, and then I know, like Deanna, like you said, it turns into this guilt trip, this shame, and then going right back to dieting, and then going back right to binging, and you find yourself in this cycle. And I'm here to help women, really, Black women specifically, break through that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that holiday season, let's talk about it, because I don't even know who to call first. Deanna, let's talk about the emotions. You know, the holiday season definitely pulls through a lot of um, memories. If someone's been lost during the season, if there's certain foods that someone can't make right. Had a whole conversation about mac and cheese the other day with my sister. Like, you know, certain traditions might not be followed. How can someone kind of work through these feelings, or like Esosa mentioned, like somebody looking at your plate and kind of enjoy food, know that you can enjoy these food even during the holidays or all the time, um, but still find boundaries and find ways of communicating when they're family, when they're not very responsive to maybe their lifestyle change, their work habits, and now it's about nutrition. So everybody's like, "Oh, don't judge me for my food," and you're just just trying to have a plate, and I know Valerie's just trying to have a plate,
just trying to get a roll.
Yeah, like how can someone go through those? You know, you're already having those emotions within yourself, but then you add the family and the holidays. In your experience, how can someone kind of persevere through those moments of judgment and pain?
First, being aware, though. Sometimes we're not aware of how this stuff really affects us. So you have to see where people are in the beginning. So now, with having this conversation, even for me, it may bring up some stuff that, that I hadn't even thought about. So that's the first step of being aware. And as these emotions come up, being able to understand, like, or try or do different coping skills. So I'll bring it up. We talked about, you and I were talking about generational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So there are good things that we can remember, when it comes down to holidays and food. And some of the things that you talk about, like the hurt, the pain, and emotional, that can, that sometimes can come from, just generational trauma. And sometimes it's things that our family does that they're not even aware that they're doing it. So it can be difficult to set boundaries. To be honest, if you come from sometimes families are just greatly enmeshed and you don't even know where to start with boundaries. So I'm just back to recognizing, like, where you are with that,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to look at what that situation is, and it may be very harmful for you, or you may feel some type of way when you're in it, but actually having a support system afterwards. So if you're aware, like, when you're definitely going to be aware, because if somebody, for instance, somebody looking at your plate, you already have this self-complex about, oh, man, I know I put on a few pounds and I got to go, in front of my family. You're already aware. So just making a note of those things, and understanding, like, how you felt about it, and having a support system, like this, or like a family member or a friend, just to reach out to process those emotions, because you can't change your family. They're going to be who they are. It's how you develop coping skills with each one, our boundaries too, with each one of those individuals is the key.
So you just had to say that big word, huh? You just had to say that big B word that we know is could be troublesome for everybody.
It
Um,
is.
so I'm actually gonna tag Valerie on this question. And I know we've had conversations about food and about boundaries and the work that you do with women, especially mothers that are postpartum, that are women that are just trying to relearn how to connect with themselves. How much does boundaries with themselves and within their communities play a role in them having a desired outcome in their goals?
It's huge. You have to put it front and center. Um, if you don't set boundaries and, not only be aware of yourself, like Deanna said, but also of who you surround yourself with, it will be very difficult. I know that when I'm around my grandparents and I'm in a phase where I want to do some fat loss, so I'm eating less and I'm tracking and weighing all my meals, it's going to be difficult because I'm aware of how they are and what their response is going to be. So I try not to be around them too much, or maybe plan my meals before or after I see them, to avoid that negative interaction that I know I'm going to get from them. Um, and I think to myself, it's okay. They don't understand, or maybe they don't have that knowledge to be able to understand what I'm trying to do, or what my objective is, what my goal is. So I'm just going to, you know, plan so that I don't put myself in that position, right? Um, and I'll also sometimes, even if you want to set boundary with our older, folks, especially our Black, people of color, Latino parents, it's very difficult because they will still make their comments. They will still say how it is, and you kind of just have to be quiet and swallow it. And that's why I say I just try to plan to have my meals, eat, say my no thank you. And when I say no thank you, it's no thank you. Please don't push the envelope any further. Please respect my decision. So we really have to be aware of them, of our community, and know when we can't be around them, and also set those boundaries. It's the only way to really be successful. Don't put yourself in a position where your family member, your friend is going to peer pressure you or judge you for what you're eating or how you're eating. Because, and maybe you can have that conversation with them at some point, but just, I would say, avoid being in that, and over the holidays, it's a little more difficult, but what I have done is I wait till they're entertained and talking, and I'll step aside and I'll have my plate, or I'll go into another room, or I'll wait till later on in the night. But I think awareness and boundaries, like Deanna said, is key.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Esosa, I'm coming for you next.
Yeah. I think it's funny. A lot of like my friends and my clients, I can always tell that they have been around me a long time because they start snapping back at these folks. Okay. So at first I get it. They want to be respectful of your elders, be respectful of your aunties, uncles, and all. I totally understand. But a little snapback is not going to hurt them. It might actually help you, and it has been helping. So usually, I do understand you don't want to say anything because you're not really sure what to say just yet. And a lot of my clients and just friends, I help them understand nutrition. I help them understand why they're doing something versus our culture, people just doing stuff, eating certain ways, doing diets, don't know why they're doing something. So I help them understand their why. So it's so much easier to be like, I'm doing this for this and this is on that period, or, just snip it in the bud. And I do understand, like, I love family. So it would be hard for me personally to go somewhere else to eat and not be with my family, because then we're really family oriented. So I'm just more I just tell people, let them know, hey, that's not okay. Or instead of they're like, I just didn't know what to say. If you don't know what to say, ask them, why are you saying that? What's that mean exactly? Just question them, just throw it back at them, and they will literally just be like, well, I was not expecting you to. I mean, it was a joke. No, it was not a joke. Why? Give them a straight face. I was telling them, just no laugh, no fake laugh to them. No, you're not entertaining it. That's it. This is a whole different thing, real quick. But even when people, a lot of Black women say fast. Oh, she's fast. And I'm like, no, why? What's that mean? And they're just like, oh, well, I mean, that's just the normal thing. I'm going to break this normality that you have going on because this is not okay. So same thing with food. Same thing you're talking about somebody's body. I'm just really helping them become a little bit more firm in their stance with education, empowerment in their food choices, so they can snap back, but then educate them. Don't just snap back and walk away. We got to educate them because they're going to try to do it with somebody else. We don't want that. So, yeah, that's just my thing on that.
So I'm going to piggyback on this education piece and share personally. I remember going through a phase where I was trying to eat healthy, and my healthy was like no oil, no butter, a very colonized way of eating. And I was like, wait a minute. I tried to mash some plantains and try to make it healthy. I was like, this is flavorless. I don't feel right. My body's not happy. So I wanted to hear from you how, as someone that's working in this health field, and you're really into like understanding the quality of the food. What does that mean? How can we adjust to our community where, like Deanna said, we don't always have I don't want to say the Whole Foods, but the price-friendly version of Whole Foods to go to, or a market or a local place? How can we get that education so that we are doing that generational health piece, but also understanding the quality of the food? What does that mean? How can we adjust to our community where, like Deanna said, we don't always have the I don't want to say the Whole Foods, but the price-friendly version of Whole Foods to go to, or a market or a local place? How can we get that education so that we are doing that generational but not disregarding how delicious and how beautiful our food culture is?
That's such a good question. This grinds my gears. Okay. Um, and then I just keep it hot. I say in my community, let's keep it hot, honest, open, and transparent. I have a lot of people who come to me and they're like, so I can't eat collard greens no more. I can't eat rice and peas no more. Plantains are out. I'm like, where are we getting this from? You're trying to trade collard greens for kale? Like, tell me the nutritional difference between these two things right now. They have no idea. What's a superfood? Well, that is a label that they put on there so they can hike up the price and get you traveling across town to go to your nearest Whole Foods, your nearest Sprouts. When this local Albertsons or whatever you have near you is selling the collard greens on sale. And a lot of people also think, oh, I have to eat like white people. White people food is healthy, but it's bland. It's like, well, guess what? Your cultural food has so much nutrients in it, and it has a rich history that you are giving up in order to look a certain way. So I always say, okay, instead of trying to throw the whole culture away, let's figure out how we're cooking this food that we can change some stuff up, how we're plating our food in order to, get the most nutrient dense food in versus trying to have the yams, the mac and cheese, the dressing, all the carbs on the plate. How can we get a little bit more greens on that plate? We can always go back for seconds. We can always put stuff, have stuff the next day or something, instead of trying to stuff the plate with everything. So there's a lot of different ways we can approach eating our culture food without trying to say it is bad. I think I feel like diet culture specifically hurts people of color way more than it does those that don't have color. So, because it tells them that they cannot eat their food that they grew up with. And we've already know in history, Native Americans, enslaved Africans, their best bet to tame you or break you down is to take away your culture. And diet culture does just that. Taking away something that you are connected to, which is connected, your food is a huge thing you're connected to. Besides music and clothing, food is a really big thing that will connect you to your culture. And when you take that away, they are stripping you of your culture. And a lot of people are trying to attain a certain body. And honestly, they might not even get to that body, doing that for up to decades of their life. I have even a 6-year-old in my program saying, you're the first person I have heard say that I should eat collard greens over kale. That's, 60-60. So I'm just, it's crazy. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. And I know age is definitely a factor that we probably don't discuss in terms of like our bodies and our goals and our needs. Valerie, I'm going to tag you in. I know you do a lot of balance for like the food that people want to eat as well as their goal setting. How do you work with those that maybe do want to maintain the food and culture, because I know that's also important to you?
Yes. And it's, as Esosa was explaining, that I was thinking, I think it was yesterday, I told my husband, you remember I used to go to Trader Joe's all the time and get all this food? How stupid was I? And I was spending all this money running over there to buy all this food that wasn't part of our culture, that did nothing for me. That was no different than going down to the supermarket and getting what I needed. It was just, and I love my culture, love the food for my culture. I feed my children same food. They love it. I say that they're more Dominican than I am because they eat everything and more. And we really have to break away. And it's like the media, social media, all this that keeps telling us you have to eat this if you want to lose weight. You have to eat that. But they don't know our culture, right? Because I can eat rice and beans and avocado and our wonderful 7-meat stew and all that stuff. And I can still lose weight and I can still enjoy my food. And feel connected to my culture without thinking that I need to find a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's near me to feel like any of that has any more quality over what I'm providing for myself and my children. It's completely false. And I've had clients that are like, oh, well, I'm going to start next week. I'm going to have to tell my mother not to make any more of that rice for me. I'm like, no, have your rice. You just have to have balance. You have your rice, you enjoy it, and make sure it fits into this nutritional guide that I'm giving you. But don't give up those things. It's not fair to you to, to disconnect from your culture because the media is telling you to, because that's not the only way. You see bodybuilders and all they eat is white rice and ground turkey. And it's like, okay, this is the American way to do it, but that's not the way I'm going to do it. That's not the way I'm going to do it for my children or for myself. I'm going to have, moro and rice and beans and all that, and I'm still going to have the same results. And it's possible. It's possible. But, the age of technology, everyone's on social media. We follow each other. We see the news. The news does it too. Our friends do it too. So we're all feeding off of the same information. And not all of us try to find, the right information, or finding someone like Esosa who's educating these Black women in their communities, or someone of Latin culture that's trying to educate women on their nutrition as well, and telling them, no, don't let go of your culture. Hang on to your culture and you can still obtain these goals. But it's really hard to beat the social media giant. It's so difficult. People just fall into this black hole of misinformation. So I think
Can I
we
say
have
something
to.
real quick too? This I
Yeah.
don't want to. Yeah. So I feel you on that. Sometimes I just want to give up. I'm gonna be like, you know what?
Yes.
I'm done with social media. I'm done with y'all. Have your diet culture. But then somebody's like, so I just went to the store. I made my this, and this. Like, oh, I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely feel you on that. And I've also just talked about how social media, a lot of people are not finding providers like us, and sometimes they're even doing a thing where they're doing a little bit of confirmation bias. They're trying to go to people who are what's the word, like already saying what they want, so they're going there
Right.
too. So those type of people, like they'll comment on my stuff. Like today on TikTok, somebody commented. I said, this is the reason you're not getting results, kind of avoiding carbs and still doing fasted cardio, stuff like that. And then she was like, well, carbs do make you fat. It's like, Auntie, I'm not talking to you. You're not the one I'm trying to reach anyway.
Right.
So I have to tell myself, so she's not, it's not your audience. She don't even follow you. She don't even follow you. So it's a whole mindset thing for myself in this space that I have to make sure I'm kind of giving back to myself mentally, because social media, even as a creator, can be stressful.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How to mute myself. I just want to remind anybody, if you have questions for our beautiful panelists, please drop them in the chat box. We'll be looking at them. If not, it's okay, because trust we got questions. Deanna, I want to, bring you in on this emotional education, I guess, piece about what it is to be healthy. We have the TikToks, we have the social media platforms that are constantly feeding us these fake realities of what life is. You have to have a certain kind of amount of money to live a certain kind of way, to look a certain way, to live this beautiful, healthy life. And the reality is that we are not part of the 1%. We're not going to have these butlers chefing it up with fruits from the Himalayas that you probably took from indigenous folks, overpriced and brought it to us on a platter for $500. How can we have those emotional conversations about maybe a need for a better healthy lifestyle, or a need to change a family food dynamic, and not feel small or misunderstood?
That's a good question. A
Sorry,
really
girl.
it is. um, so I'm gonna be say that's easier said than done with a lot of people. And I'm gonna piggyback off of with social media. There's so many, and then we're getting close to that time. Speaking of the holidays, where you have the gyms where they're like, hey, get in here, we charge $1, and then you can do this. And you talk about food, you have all these waist trainer things that, like, if you with the people with already flat stomachs, they're saying if you put this waist trainer on, that means that tomorrow you won't have a stomach. So which ties, and then when you buy this and then you um try it on, and then like, hey, this is not working, then that leads back to depression. That leads to you know being irritable with yourself, and then that affects family, your family, and all of that. So um for me is it's just being able to dissect that, and it's hard. That's why I said it's hard, because just like Esosa said, you're trying to put something positive on, and then you have all of these people that come back and piggyback. You have more people. We tend to look at ourselves as a community so negatively, and we pick the negative stuff first without realizing the beauty that we have in us. Even if you may want to change some things about you, but I try to help people with understanding, like, the beauty you already have. Because if you don't understand that, and you can't feel that, then I don't care how much any of us on this panel try to help you. It's just not going to work. So the first step is understanding, like, what is beautiful in you. What can you say positive about you right now? You can tell me, like, yeah, I feel like my weight is a problem, and it's just making me depressed, so I overeat. So let's talk about what is good about you. What do you like about you? So those are some of the first questions I ask when I first meet. What do you like about you? What is good about you? What are you good at doing? Because it may be a project that you can do that can help towards, nutritional, just being more healthy. So, does that answer your question? I know I went off, because that's like a good question, because just growing up, I, just to give some background, like, I remember I had an aunt that every day when I came home from school, I was looking forward to this toasted bread with this thick butter that was on it. And what she would do, she'd give me 2 and 3, and she'd put the butter in the middle of it. So that way, when it was hot coming out, it would melt, and I would eat that every day. And they're like, she's not big. I didn't even know, like, I was big, but people apparently like, she's not big. She's just big boned it. And so, you just don't understand, like, some of the stuff that people tell you. I was just glad to get the bread and butter every day. And so, I had to understand, like, those words rang out at me with saying, apparently I must be big if they have to defend and say, she's not big, she's this. And it wasn't intentional. My mom was just like trying to back people off. But I just and said, oh, she's big. And so, I had to understand and really look at what is good about me. No, I may not be small. I may not, but what does that mean? Does my shape have to be like this person that I'm seeing on social media? How do I know they haven't had surgery? How do I know that they haven't done things to alter how they look? And then but at the end of the day, if I don't feel good about myself, I am going to be looking at that person and be like, oh, well, this is what I need to be. This is what I'm supposed to be. But is it? No.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And that actually brings me to a question that we got through from one of our audience members. And it's so, I'm so sorry. My mind literally wants to translate it into Spanish. And I'm like, I was like, no, I'm sorry. Esosa, you as a nutritionist in your background, and again, can I just say virtual shout outs to you for being on the virtual game, because traveling and we know that traveling and proximity to support Deanna as well and Valerie as well, everybody here is virtual, so accessibility, people,
It's big.
it's a big thing. So I want to know from you, how do you work with clients that do have, as Deanna says, those childhood memories of their health, their body image constantly being described and talked about? I know for myself, that was definitely one of the first early memories I had, was people talking about my body and having to look at my body through other people's eyes. How do you help someone that wants to go into a healthy route, that even needs it because of health conditions, and them taking off those layers?
Right. So for the Nourish Mindset Academy, I always tell people, like, people are always kind of shocked. What's mindset, Nourish mindset? What does that have to do with anything? But we can't change anything with your labs or body if you're trying to lose weight. If we are not addressing what's going on mentally or emotionally with you. So, and I like what Deanna, you were saying about comparison. It really is the number one thief of your joy. So if you come into trying to change something, you will always be looking for the next thing. You will never say, okay, wow, I made it this far. Okay, I took another step this time. So I definitely help them realize, okay, I need you to first just talk to me and express to me what you have been exposed to and what type of healthy behavior that you want to experience. Because a lot of people, social media, like we said, social media, if your family's not really displaying to you what you want, social media, the algorithm you have is just kind of perpetuating that same thing. We need to kind of figure out, okay, action plan, mindset, and emotionally, I need to know what's going on first. If it is very much so, you need a psychiatrist, a therapist, you might have some disordered eating, then I would need to refer you to someone else, because you're definitely not getting the program where folks want to lose weight. I don't accept that. But then if you are okay, you're telling me some things you want to change, then I will help with holding your hand through this process, keeping you accountable with trying to change your mindset. So I know a lot of people come in and say, well, I shouldn't be eating this. I'm like, see that should word? We got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of unlearning should. I should be doing this. I should. Again, you are taking away from the journey. You should enjoy food. You should be enjoying food, period. That's the only should that should be in your vocabulary. So we kind of walk through things that they are saying. I always tell people, if you want to know how your relationship with food is looking, just dissect what you were saying. Dissect what your mother is saying, specifically your aunties. They have shaped what you do today. And it's hard to dissect what you're doing because it's so subconscious. But, while you're eating, if you're talking to a friend, I kind of give them some cues of the shoulds, or I'm bad. It's definitely some words. So I give them some tools, some words to look out for. And then it's a little easier for them to catch, oh, if I am saying I'm bad, or I am feeling shame, or I do feel like I have to explain myself when I eat something. So that's typically what I do for them first, kind of just those steps to figure out. I mean, I do a lot of stuff. A lot of people don't realize we have to go through a lot of things mindset wise before we even try to change anything physically. We got to do inside work before outside can even be touched. So yeah.
I just wanted to piggyback off of that should. A lot of times that brings us to feeling depressed or feeling anxious, because we saying we have set these expectations. Are they the right expectations? That's the thing. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that. And a lot of times, like when you were saying about dissecting, I'll ask people to write them down. Like, hey, can you like sit and can you journal this? And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be a dissertation because some people are like, I'm not into writing, I'm not into journaling. So I'm like, okay, I will say,
Yeah.
jot this down. Can we say that then? Can we say
Mm-hmm.
jot down? And when you do that, when we come back, we'll look at it. We'll see how you tie it because we have these emotional experiences, I call them, but they're situations, and we have these, but we don't understand like the connection between the way we think, feel, and behave. Though everybody knows like cognitive, our thoughts change our behaviors, but what we don't recognize is how all three of those things tie into that situation or that emotional experience and keep us in that distress.
Right. And I just wanted to go back to
Agreed.
what Deanna was saying about social media and comparing ourselves to these people. I had actually, in the beginning of my journey, my screensaver was a girl that was a bodybuilder. She had a great body. And I was like, I want to look like this. This is my goal. Couple years later, come to find out, she had an eating disorder. She was depressed, she had anxiety, she was miserable. And then she started speaking about how she started to address those issues and how she had to make changes to improve her health. But the images that she was putting out there was, I'm skinny and sexy and strong and I have this six pack. But what was happening behind the camera was just complete chaos. And, um, you know, I, it's nice that she put herself out there later on to share that journey. But it's just to show that we see this on social media and we think, this is it. But we don't know what they're going through and how they alter themselves or really where they are mentally to
Mm-hmm.
get to where they are. So we just need to stop comparing and really focus on our own journey. And, you know,
Yes, I totally agree. And I just posted a reel about that. Um, I've had friends say, so you should, um, put your body out there more to promote your services. And I was just like, well, first of all, my body is not my business card, and nobody's body is their business card. But unfortunately, that's what people are so used to. And I do understand. I'm pretty sure someone could be making so much more money if I were out here putting my body out there. But the way my spirit's set up, I can't really, live doing that. Because I don't aspire for women to look like me. No one looks the same. I love that no one looks the same. Um, I aspire for them to be confident in their bodies and their food choices. So I always tell people if someone is promoting their body as like the road you should be going down, I'm very weary of that. That's most definitely red flag behavior for me. And I try to show them like, okay, these are some things you should be aware of. And at first, I wasn't even really posting my body or even my face when I first started Melanin Pop and RDN. But then I realized people need to know who's behind this. People feel more connected to the person, not necessarily always the information you're putting out. They want the character, they want the tone that I have. So I had to realize I had to get past that because I was just so hyper focused on, okay, I don't want people to try to be like me or try. So I had to just say, look, if you're trying to look like me, I'm not your dietitian. So yeah.
No, and if actually, I would love to pose this question that came in as well. Esosa and Valerie, if you don't mind answering, what would then be, if we're trying to really tune into ourselves and what our bodies are, how can someone measure what's the right way to eat with their body type? That's, you too skinny, so you got to eat more. You too big, so you need to cut it down. But how do we know how to nourish ourselves within the body type? Esosa, if you could start first, and then Valerie, if you could piggy off of that.
Body type. Mm,
I
Express.
feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the body type thing. I want to, first of all, like, even just like when I work with people, I'm just like, let's get you eating first. Because some people are not even eating. They'll skip meals. They're like, oh, I can't eat after 7 p.m. But I'm like, sis, you get off work at 6. Like, how are you going to do that? So I'm just trying to get you, let's start eating first. I'm not even trying to figure out your body composition yet. I'm not trying to figure out, I'm just trying to get you, let's just get you on a regular eating schedule. And then we go from there. I think a lot of people really just, they overcomplicate stuff so much. I'm like, you didn't even go through macronutrients and micronutrients or any of these I mean, you're making it's like they're overcomplicated, but it's a lot of dieting junk that's not rooted in any science. So I'm always just telling people, look at your diet. Let's see, are you eating consistently? Are you telling yourself you're going to starve breakfast, lunch, and then have a big dinner? A lot of people do that during the holidays. Please not do that. Eat breakfast, eat lunch, eat snack, eat dinner. So you're not binging during those times. So I'm just really trying to get people to eat, nourish first. And then we go to, tweak certain things in your diet once you are now used to eating. Now you got those hunger cues back. Again, a lot of people are not hungry anymore. So that's why they're not eating. And that's not a good sign. A lot of people are like, oh, yes, weight loss. But I'm like, you're not even losing weight, are you, right? Your metabolism have slowed down. Um, so yeah, I'm not body type thing for nourishment. Not, no, not there.
Yeah, and that's social media again, you know. It's social media, they're like, well, if you have this body type, you can't eat carbs. If you have this body type, you can't eat. And I'm and I'm like, wait, but we're all human. We all have lungs, heart. We're all like it's we're all the same. Our body shape has nothing to do with our nutrition. We just have to nourish our bodies. So
Yes.
I you know, I always try to remind my clients and get them away from that. Don't overcomplicate the process. Let's just eat. Forget about reading the sugar and the salt and the whatever on these labels because that's going to drive you crazy.
Right.
This
Right.
whole thing about these body shapes, like, I and people make money off of that. That's the thing, people make money off of that. There's this guy, and I like going into other trainers and nutritionists page to see what they're doing. And this guy's like, well, if you're this shape, you can't eat that, and you have to eat like 10 carbs a day, and you can't. And I'm like, wow, this guy's a psycho, but he's making thousands of dollars off people who believe this is true. And I think it's a shame. And it's sad because that's really that's not the
Mm-hmm.
right way to do it, you know? It's
Mm-hmm.
not.
No, I totally agree. And then a lot of people, when they probably hear me say something like, just eat. Are you even a dietitian? Do you even care that we have diabetes out here? I'm like, okay, cool it, first of all, for you.
Hmm.
But I'm always like, I do care about those things. But you're just eating protein and you do have an A1C of 9 right now. So that's not too good. We need carbs. So again, I'm just like, look, I can school you or I can help you. Which one are you wanting here? Because I do want to get people eating. I want to take away the stigma from food. Unfortunately, the word diet, people think, okay, low calorie, low this, but diet is just how I eat on a regular basis. Let's get away from the term diet being for low calorie and low this, low that. Let's just go back to, okay, what does my diet look like on a daily basis? So, yeah.
That's the thing,
Right.
because you can do these crash diets, and then when you start eating again, then I tie in the emotional piece, because when you start gaining weight, you may crash diet and lose something, but is it sustainable? So then you're back to feeling all of these emotions and then being stressed out about all of these things. And so I'm so happy to hear and have it put out there, because I'm not familiar with the nutritional side of it, but just hearing you guys, and I hope the panel is soaking all of this in, because I'm definitely, soaking it in, because it helps to tie what I do in, with just being okay first with you and understanding what you like about you. And if you want to change something, it's not because of all these outside forces saying you need to change something. It's something that you feel within you, and you have a valid reason for that, though. Because you may say, oh, I have something within me, but it may come from something from your childhood saying this is what you need to do. So you have to you have to look at why you want to make this change. So when I'm hearing what you guys are saying, I'm definitely loving it. And, I would love to just refer just for them to have a consultation, because, it's like, you're like, that's what I'm saying. But I got some background with it. I'm ready.
And Deanna, you said a word that I love, sustainable. Is it sustainable? And I tell everyone, the way you eat, is that how you want to eat for the rest of your life?
Valerie, stop. I said that same thing. I'm like,
Yes.
So you can do this for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not trying to do it for the rest of my life.
And
what are you doing?
Exactly.
You can drink shakes forever.
Right. Twice a day, every day till you're like 80, you're going to drink a shake. Like, no, it's not sustainable. And I see people working out, overworking, doing too much. And I ask them, is this type of activity sustainable? When you're in your 40s and 50s, is this the amount of activity you want to continue to do? Because I have 3 kids. I don't have that much energy to work out twice a day, 7 days a week.
Guilty. I'm in my 50s. And I'm like, what I did, I just
you have to find ways that's sustainable, that you can continue to, do as you get older. I think people, think too much about now, today, tomorrow, this party, this wedding I need to get to, this event, but don't think about 5, 10, 20 years from now, how our bodies change, how our lifestyle changes. They don't think about that. That doesn't matter. It's about that party or that wedding or that birthday or that event or whatever it might be. And that's what makes it so much more difficult. And it's changing people's mindset, That's the biggest struggle.
In the interest of y'all time, because I know I said I would not make you guys go over, but this conversation,
good.
Y'all, the chills I have gotten with some of these conversations and the memories. I hope that our attendees are and have been enjoying this. To honor your time, ladies. I do want to shoot you guys this last question, and it really drives from what you guys were just speaking about, and how can our audience, our women, align themselves with their health? How can they do it from the perspective of the work that you guys do? I'm gonna start it off with Deanna. Talk to us. How can we align with ourselves?
It's mental, it's physical, and it's spiritual. All of that ties in. I could not do mental health without acknowledging that there's a spiritual realm, a spiritual presence that we have to have. There's stuff within us that we have to seek and understand. So it cannot, then there's the physical piece, with understanding, like there are certain things, like if you do too much of, it's going to affect you physically. So being able to, and that looks different for different people though. So just being able to look at each one of those realms, like what am I doing physically? We do know that some activity is needed. There's, if you want to get with a trainer to understand what that activity is, we do know just getting out and being active and walking, we do know that is a start with doing something. So then we talk about the spiritual piece. We have inner voices that speak to us. We ignore a lot of things too. We know when something is, we have a feeling when something isn't right. We don't pay attention to it. So that's a part of just, like self-awareness, mindfulness. When I talk about mindfulness and being present with yourself, that is a practice that we all need to. Everybody can do it differently. I'm not going to give you a specific app and say this is the one you have to do, but you have to look at what is good for you. And then there is the mental health piece, with being aware of what these emotions, being aware of those emotions that are affecting you. So just to sum it up, all three of those for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. Valerie, talk to us.
Yeah, no, I agree with Deanna. It's a combination of things. You can't do one and leave the others out. The mental piece is so important. If you're not in the right place mentally, it'll be very difficult for you to achieve those health goals you want, right? So having a therapist, I think, is a step in the right direction. Knowing what your intentions are every day, being grateful when you wake up every day, and looking in the mirror and picking out positive things about yourself, having that self dialogue with yourself of, I can do this. I did it. Let's get to the next thing. Just positive talk, physical activity, getting in that, I had a client who wasn't walking at all, and I told her, go out and do a 30-minute walk couple days a week. And she said, this is the best thing that has happened for my mental health. I take my dog and I do a 30-minute walk and I feel amazing. So physical, people look at physical activity as though it's time consuming. Like it's, now I have to figure out what time I have to get to the gym. I have to figure out what time I have to wake up. And to me, physical activity should be something as normal as brushing your teeth in the morning, something you should do, and that you're looking forward to do, because after an exercise, I've never heard anyone say, I feel like crap. Everyone says, oh my God, I feel amazing. I feel great. My day started amazing. So I think we have to be really intentional about physical activity, and maybe not watching a series through the night and saying, I'm going to stop here so I can get my 30-minute workout in the next day. So mental health, physical activity, and nutrition. Stop listening to what they say on social media. Find an expert. Try to find an expert that understands your culture, that will, when you tell them how your aunt or your uncle or your mom or dad speak back to you, they understand, because it's definitely a culture thing. So nutrition is so big, and just finding the right resources and not trying to find answers on social media. I don't recommend it. That's why I'm so hesitant to, post on social media and things, because I'm up against so much misinformation, and it just makes me so mad when I go in that I just, take my referrals word of mouth, because I work with people that I know are really open to change, to learn new things. And then I think the last thing would be, oh my God, I had the word on the tip of my tongue, and then it left me. But yeah, mental health, physical activity, and nutrition are so big. I try to, I do, I'm a person that I do, as I say, I implement all of those things in my life. I try to teach my children to do the same. And I hope that, from this discussion, it opens up more discussions, and we continue to educate and to speak to other women about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Esosa, bring on,
Yeah.
make it happen.
Most definitely. So aligning yourself with your health and wellness goals. That's like okay, making sure. Um, I would say community is really big. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh man, when you're trying to change, you have to do it by yourself. It gets very lonely." Don't get me wrong. It will get lonely when you first try and change, but you need a community that could be an expert, that could be your therapist, that could be a group that you pay to be in. I think the misconception is, oh, if I want to change, let me look at my current family, let me look at my current friends, and try to get support from them. But if you're trying to change your behavior or change your trajectory of life, they're likely not going to be the ones that are going to support you long term. I always say, birds of the same feather flock together. You can't, if you're trying to change your wings, you can't force them to. I'm not saying you got to throw the whole family and friends away, but always just try to remember, okay, let me seek the community that I need to change. Let me seek the expert that understands what I need and what I want, and will articulate it in a way that I understand. Um, I think that therapist it's big for me too. And just you can't. There's so much stuff that you don't realize that's underneath that actually compounded over life, and it just was normal to you at this point. And you need somebody to say, yes, is that right there that you're doing that's actually not normal, and then they'll help you, and then help you get out of that. Again, don't throw away your current friends or family. You can actually be very inspirational to them in the long term, possibly. But again, my thing is find community. It possibly more likely than not more likely than not will not. Anyway, it won't be possibly be the ones that you're currently with. So that's just my thing.
Sorry, I'm over here trying to get my uh unmute off. Um, but yes, well, with that being said, everyone, Esosa, Deanna, Valerie, thank you for sharing your expertise, your experience, your truth to our attendees here and now. We thank you. And just a reminder, this is what we're here to do at Gather and Heal. We're here to bring women from various communities, from various experiences together to heal and to have these dialogues and authentic conversations. Food matters, culture matters, we matter. And we're here. We heal together and we heal in community. So I thank you, ladies, for all your love and support that you're giving our people and the work that you do. And for everyone watching, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. And everyone, you guys have a good night. And before I forget, please watch them, follow them, okay? Please follow our ladies. If you have not, Esosa is at melanin_poppin, RDN. Deanna is at change devoted to, and Valerie as V fit for you. Okay, we cannot not plug. Okay, we have to plug. We definitely have to keep it popping. So thank you so much, guys, for your time, for your energy. And you all have a great day.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.